always fun. So we're just gonna go wherever this thing goes and have fun with it.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna talk about a bunch of stuff and we'll make it happen. You got the intro coming up?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Saturday morning. That means those two great guys full of information you don't want to miss. A veteran show for all veterans. Welcome Major Andrew White, retired, and Marine helicopter pilot Chuck Wright.
Hey.
Hoorah! And welcome to another edition of Kilroy's Conversation. Unfortunately, my other half is not, and when I say other half, I'm not talking about that other half. That other half is probably still sleeping right now. But the other part of this show, Chuck is off today right now. He says he's doing some kind of work, but I don't know. I've known Chuck for too many years, so kind of questioned that. He's probably just slacking off today, but that's okay. Not to worry about it. We have not a replacement, but a definite great information coming with us today. Be kind of another knowledge bomb type show. I got a good buddy of mine, probably a pretty decent golfer. You know, I don't know if we've actually ever played together.
I'm okay.
You're okay. All right.
I'm
He's
getting
okay.
there.
He's getting there. You know, golf is a sport of improvement.
Yeah.
You know, every time you go out there, you just got an opportunity to get better, or in
Yeah.
my case, lose more balls.
I just try not to break my clubs when I get angry.
Exactly. I got my good friend Mike Buchanan from the VA, who's here today. We thought, you know what? Now's a good time to get you guys some information, get rid of a few myths, fact versus fiction on the VA, healthcare systems, your benefits, what you need to do, and kind of really prepare yourself as a veteran, whether you're about to get out, whether you've already been out, whether maybe you are a spouse or caretaker of a veteran, of excuse me, things you should know about your VA benefits and how the process really works. Because we all know this, and Mike, and you can probably relate to this better than anyone because of your role, is we all know while you're in the military, you've got the barracks room attorney. You also have the barracks room VA expert, and with inside all the veteran service organizations, you always have that extreme expert who really doesn't know anything about how the system really works. And I want to be straight, and we talked prior to the show last week, you know, when we were playing golf, like, we're not here to bash or say how bad something is or isn't. We know the system's not perfect, and no one here is trying to say it's the greatest thing to ever come. We know it's got room for improvement. But part of that improvement also comes from knowledge and knowing what you should be doing, what you should know, and how to best take care of yourself. I know when I was in the Army, no one's going to take care of your career better than you.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because it's also about, like, how can I do something about it, right? How can I be a part of that change? Because just because you know that it should change doesn't mean that you're doing anything actively to help with that change.
Exactly. So let's start off right now with one of the very first things, all right? Let's just paint a typical scenario.
Sure.
You're a service member, whether enlisted, officer, warrant officer, whatever it may be. You've done around 10 years. Let's just, you know, an average military service. You're thinking about getting out, or you are getting out, whatever the reason be. What are some of the things they need to be doing, or at least start thinking about as you're getting ready to make that change of taking off that uniform for the last time?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I would say what I usually typically tell people is that you need to get all your medical files kind of in order, all right? And you need to be seen for all of the medical things that you have not been seen for. So let's say, like, for instance, a lot of grunts, right? So, like, I was a 19 Delta in the Army.
Right.
And I did
For those who
7
don't
years.
know, that's the baddest dudes in the military, because
Cav Scouts.
as a 19 series guy myself, there is nothing better than being 19 in the military.
Yeah.
11 Bang Bang, you're cute. You know, we love you. You know, you're fun to play with every now and then, and we don't even need to talk about the artillery guys because they're,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, they're
Gun
there.
bunnies. Yeah,
exactly.
They come out of their little hole every time.
every
they need
now
to
and
shoot a
then,
gun,
you
yeah.
know, and they're all right. I mean, I guess they have a purpose.
They do.
You
They
know?
do. They keep us safe. Everyone serves a purpose.
Exactly. But let's just be honest with you. When you're 19, there's really nothing better than that.
Yeah,
but
no,
anyway.
yeah. I mean, the jack of all trades, master of none, right?
Exactly.
You
You
know?
know, we talk the most amount of crap and try to back it up.
You know, funny story before we get into that topic that you asked me about, but
Yep.
you know, being 19 series, when I was deployed, I really realized I chose the right branch, you know, or the
Yep.
right service branch, or just series. When we were deployed, and I came out, we had this 11 Bravo unit attached to us, this whole 40-man platoon that was attached
Right.
to it, the scouts. And I came out one morning, we had to fill the trucks with ComSec, right? So we had to do a refill. And I was like, hey, do you know what fill we're on? And the guy was like, do I look like a radio guy to you? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, everyone should know what the ComSec fill is. Like, it's kind of something that you should just
Right.
know. I mean, your radios don't work without it. How would you not know? And he's just like, no, go talk to that guy. So I go talk to that guy. That guy doesn't know. I go talk to the next one. So I get down like 10
Shocker.
people. Yeah, I get 10 people down. And no one knows what it is. I was like, this is stupid, right? And I was like, I definitely joined the right, the right series. I definitely wanted to be a 19 because
no.
at least everyone on the base that was 19 series, they were like, yeah, we're on ComSec Fill 71. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
I
appreciate it.
Yeah,
I mean, I started off on tanks and then went dismount afterwards. And when you're a tanker, you only have 4 friends in the world. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, and that's typical of
Yeah.
most days. Like,
yeah, you are also our enemy in basic, so.
yep. But it's all right. Well, anyways, we digress. We can talk about
Yeah.
series and all that. But bad thing. All right, so
Sure.
let's paint a typical scenario.
So I would say, get all your medical records in order. It's also extremely important that you're seen at sick call. Okay.
Right.
So a lot of the guys, like I was saying, like in my series or 11 Bravo or the grunts, right? They typically push off going to sick call because they
Nobody wants to be that guy.
No
when
one wants
you're-
to be that guy, right? But now it's your chance to be that guy, and now you definitely need to be that guy.
And I say that a lot to, guys when they come out or getting ready to come out and be like, oh man, I'm like, listen, dude, there's a time to be that guy and then there's a time not to be that guy.
Yeah.
If you're making that decision, whether it's 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you need to be that guy when the time comes to get out. Because, you may not think of it today, but down the road, having those things documented could make a big difference in your obtaining benefits or things that are entitled. Am I using the correct word?
I like when people use the word entitled because it's not the right word.
Okay, please correct.
But it's okay. It's
Yep,
okay.
yeah, and that's
I
why
hear-
we're here.
I hear it all the time. So let me tell
Or
you.
eligible, would that be?
Yeah, I'll give you my spiel for entitled, okay?
Right.
No veteran is entitled to anything. Honestly, no one's entitled to anything
Right.
unless you're born a king, a queen, a prince, a
I
princess.
knew you were
a
gonna
lord,
go there. I
a
remember.
lady, a duke, a duchess, a baron, or a baroness, and you were born literally with land that was entitled to your name when you were like officially brought into this world, which is like no one.
Rare.
Okay? It's rare, okay, but it's pretty much like no one in America. Okay, so
They can throw it away on Oprah if you want to also.
I mean, honestly, if you had that going for you, were you really joining the service? I mean, not
Yeah.
everyone's a Prince Harry, okay?
Yep.
So the thing is like you're not entitled, but you are deserving. Like you're
Right.
very deserving, okay?
Okay, so then that's
deserving
the
is
word
usually
we're
what
going
we
to
say,
use.
or we say eligible, okay?
Eligible.
But I like to say deserving because like we earned it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
With our service, with wearing the uniform, with going out every day and giving up some of the things that we've had to give up, we deserve the benefits that we have earned, right?
Right.
And so, but I say you deserving because deserving goes both ways.
Sure.
Right? So you're deserving of something so long as you stay deserving of something, right? So don't act a fool, don't get arrested, those kinds of things.
Don't do the things that sergeant majors lose sleep over every night. Or
Yeah.
actually, first sergeants lose more sleep. Sergeant majors just get that phone call and be like,
Yeah.
I'll meet you there.
Exactly, right? I mean, so it's kind of the same way like wearing the uniform, right? You are deserving of certain things while you're wearing that uniform, while you're active duty, while you're National Guard. But then if you get in trouble, well, are you still deserving of those things now, right? Maybe not for a little bit, okay?
Well,
You got to get back into the good graces.
You
kinda
may
thing.
lose some of
Yeah,
those benefits.
Exactly, right? So that's why I use deserving rather than entitled.
Sure. Okay. So back to our,
Yeah.
we're talking about
So let's talk about the reason why.
Yeah, why? Yeah,
let's talk
you
about,
have
let's talk
that.
about why. So why do you need to go to sit call? So it's one for documentation, right? So that you don't lose the documentation, and then for later on, because a lot of people think that just because you wore the uniform that you get VA services. Okay,
Right.
it hasn't been like that since 1980. Okay,
Right.
like 1980, 1981. There was a clause back before 1980 that said September or something. I think it was like September 1st of 1980. There was a clause before that that said if you wore the uniform for a day, the VA was going to take care of you, period. Right? But they changed that in 1980, okay? And so now it's you need to be service connected for something, usually, all right? So that means that most VAs are so overpacked, all right, or so packed down with people that it requires a service connection to get inside the door. That just means 0% service connection. So you don't have to be getting paid disability.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, and we're going to go in there. That's the thing, and I know I've exhausted myself many times trying to explain 0% is still a percentage.
Oh, yeah,
Yes, it's still,
yeah.
There. And, I've heard, and I'm sure we know many of the same people. It's like, oh, I got 0 for my knee or 0 for my back. That's okay.
That's great.
That's not a bad thing. It's just, well, I know the answer, but I'd rather them hear it from someone in there. What does that mean? I'm sorry.
So 0%. All it means is that yes, they can't confirm or deny that it actually happened in service, right? Is what it's saying, or that it doesn't ail you to the point to where they feel like it needs to be paid out as a disability, like it's going to affect the quality of your life for the rest of your life. And so that's okay, though, right? Because I know every veteran is always talks about this. Well, I'm on my road to 100%. I'm on my road to 100%. But like, honestly, that should not be your goal, right? Your goal should be to get service connected at 0%. Because once you're service connected at 0%, it's like you got accepted into a healthcare policy, right? And that's what you want. Because once you're accepted at 0%, from 0 to 50% at the VA, you're going to pay a copay, but it's going to be no more than $30.
And I want
It's
you
like,
to, because you and I, we had
that's
that.
good.
That was a great conversation you and I
good.
had last week. Explain that, because that is something that I think a lot of veterans don't understand.
Yeah.
The concept. And I got to thank you, because I have actually took advantage of that conversation. And not this week, but next week, I'm getting my eyes checked on the same days, and I'm going to go for my physical therapy. That I need to go get some radiology done. All that. Yes, it's going to be probably a full 8-hour day, because. And again, not trying to bash that the VA, everyone loves using the excuse, oh, I just had to go get a film in 8 hours. No, mine will be an 8-hour day, but I also have, I think, 3 or 4 appointments in one day. Well, that's okay. That's a good
That's
8
good.
hours.
That's what you want, though. I mean, and we talked about that. Yeah. So that's what you really want, because let's say you do pay a copay. Okay, let's say I'm 30% service connected and I pay a copay. Well, copays don't work the same way in the VA as they do everywhere else, right? So the way that copays really work at the VA is you do for the day, okay, for the day of care. So if you see a specialty care doctor, let's say like a heart doctor or a knee doctor or a back doctor, something like that, that's your most expensive doctor you'll pay for. So that's like the $30 doctor.
Sure.
If you see your knee doctor and your heart doctor and your primary care doctor all in the same day and get labs, you're going to pay for the day. So you're going to pay $30 for the day of all those people you've seen.
And that's really a huge cost savings. And let's face it,
Huge cost savings.
$30 also is relatively inexpensive, because I can tell you, with my wife and kids, some doctors, their copay is a lot higher than $30.
And I would be remiss if I didn't also add in that if you have alternate insurances, let's say that you are a veteran who has the means to have his own insurance, or who's medically retired and has TRICARE or something else like that, right? You can also put that on file with the VA, and you may not pay a copay at all.
Great point. All right, so let me ask you a question, and this may be a little technical on there. Let's say I'm a veteran. I have, let's go with 50%, which that's still in that copay.
So it's above the copay.
All right, so
40% would be in the copay.
Okay, so let's say I'm a veteran, it's 40% service connected.
As long as you're going to pay a copay 40% or lower, as long as it's not what you're service connected for.
Right.
So if you're service connected for your knee and you go to the knee doctor, you're not paying for it.
We're not paying. So let's say I'm 40% for my knees, a typical,
Okay.
situation. I'm there because now I have a back issue, another thing, and I got to pay a copay. But I work for ABC company that has, take your pick of your standard healthcare,
Say Blue Cross Blue
Blue
Shield.
Shield, something
Sure.
like that. All right. The VA would take the Blue Cross Blue Shield with that, and that may eliminate that copay.
Yeah, most of the
potentially.
times. Absolutely, yeah. That's why we ask people at registration. So like when you're registering with the VA, when you're doing you go to the enrollment center and you're enrolling in these services, that's why you're trying to go through enrollment so we can get all that information. Yeah, so I mean I would say that's really why I think it's really important that people put that kind of information on record, is because you never know whether it's going to eliminate your copay.
And that's huge. That's a great piece of information, because what would you, and I don't know if you know this or not, I mean, obviously not everyone's 100%, given.
Yeah.
It'd be impossible to have everybody at 100%. It'd break the system probably if that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, it would kind of break the system. But, I think it's important also to talk about, while we're talking about the subject, I think it's important to talk about what does your service connection really mean, okay?
Right.
Because a lot of people think that, like, your service connection is like a pension, okay? It's something to, like, live off for the rest of your life. And that's not what it was intended to do, okay? It was intended to bridge the gap between the kind of quality of life that you normally would have had or would have been able to have,
Right.
and the quality of life that you're going to get to have because of all of your disabilities. So, for instance, when I first got out, I was 27, I think, okay? So I was like 27, 28
Young
years
pup.
old. I was young, right? But I was young, but I was broken. I was very broken, okay? I had a lot of mental health. I had a lot of body issues. I still have a lot of mental health and body issues going on. But think about it. Like, when I was getting out, I was 27, 28. I still had a family with a wife and 2 kids. And, I'm 100%, and they want to, limit my work. They want to limit what I can do. Well, that affects the quality of my life
100%.
tremendously, okay? And so that's why they, eventually gave me 100%, is because they realized that if I do end up, because I'm young, I could wind up in a management position or upper level management. Well, what is to say that if I get into upper level management and my stress level gets so high that it's going to tax some of my PTS, or it's going to attack some of the anxiety or depression or some of my other physical ailments or something like that. So I may need to stay middle management, right, instead of upper management, but that 100% kind of levels out what I would have normally been able to do while still being comfortable.
Great point. And I think it's important for a lot of people to understand, I hear it, and I'm sure you hear it way more than I do because of your position. There's a difference between being 100% total and permanent and 100%
non-employable.
What is the correct term?
It's non-employability. Yeah.
There's a big difference, huge difference in that.
Huge difference.
And you're a great example. You are 100, but yet you still have the ability to work, have a job, provide for you and your family, perhaps maybe even better yourself, you and your family, because of that ability. And that's very, very important to know there's a distinct difference between those two categories for veterans. Because, you hear it all the time. I know I do. Like, I'm 100%, I'm done. I'm like, well...
But why?
Yeah, why?
That's my question to every time a veteran tells me that. I'm like, why? Why, right? Because I'll tell you that being in the VA and working with veterans I've been doing this 7, almost 8 years now.
Right.
So, like, working with veterans outside of the military, I can tell you that our main problem as veterans is lack of sense of purpose. Lack of sense of purpose.
100% agree with you.
If you get 100% and then you just quit everything, you have a lack of sense of purpose. And I guarantee you a lack of sense of purpose will kill you faster than any of your disabilities you could possibly get 100% for.
Couldn't agree with you more, and I think that is the number one reason for some of the mental health aspects that a lot of veterans face. And it's not just veterans, it's also their families face because of that, because you can only look at 4 walls and paint drying for so long before that gets really, really old, at least for me, and I can only speak from the combat arms side of it. What I loved about being in the military was every day we knew we had something to do.
Yeah.
And even if you hated what you had to do that day,
You had a mission.
you had
You had a goal. You had a focus.
you embraced the suck, as we used to say, with your buddies. And let me tell you, you could probably speak to this just as well as I can, and we know plenty of folks. You may be doing something so god awful and miserable, but if you're sharing that experience with your buddies,
Yeah.
somehow, some way, you look back 5-10 years later, like, dude, do you remember when we had to do that? Yeah, that sucked, but we were telling jokes and doing dumb stuff, and somehow you made a horrible, awful experience probably one of your best memories in your military service. And that's, to me, that is the best part of the military. Is you can take, and I can think of a million examples of horrible, awful things that I had to do, but I was like, it actually wasn't all that bad in hindsight, because I was with so-and-so and so, and I'm like, that was actually pretty cool.
Honestly, I think that's funny that you say that, because I guess it's a sidebar, but
That's right. We sidebar the show all the time.
Okay.
In fact, that should be the new name of the show, is Sidebar.
So like, what my favorite thing to do in deployment was stir and poo.
Yeah,
only because like you didn't have to pull guard that day, because you're gonna stir poo like most of the day, and I got to listen to music all day long, right? So I didn't have to pull guard. I got to listen to music. Yeah, I had to stir poo for everybody, right? But like, honestly, I got to set stuff on fire, right? Consistently with a whole bunch of diesel, like 5 gallons of diesel.
And you took your blouse off, you probably wrapped up in a little turban in your hat.
You had like a day of relaxation.
Your Wiley X sunglasses on,
Yeah, it was like a day of relaxation and like focus and meditation, because all you're doing is just stirring this poo in this
and
can
you probably had a couple
stick,
buddies
right?
with you, and you guys were just BSing, and you're doing, as we say, you do the grab ass kind of stuff,
I know it seems gross, but like, it was just a day to relax and just focus and meditate, kind of like on.
Yeah,
I can imagine. I can just remember like sitting on top of a mountain and just looking over this valley and just being like, when I'm listening to music, this is kind of pretty, until you get shot at or something stupid,
But I wasn't there obviously when you did that, but I'm like, I can relate to that. I'm like, I can understand that being a cool experience. I mean, I remember oh God, I remember one time we had to pull we were just short staffed because people were on leave and doing all that. We were pulling we had to talk all night long. We were on the radio, and it was me, and I had, still to this day, in fact, I even talked to him just yesterday, one of my favorite E4s. Dude, he's my favorite guy. He was at E4, the smart ass that no matter what you said, always had one of those smart ass comments. I mean, quick as a, the kind of guy I'm talking about.
That was me. Yeah.
I
get it.
we were manning the radio, and like, you go, you went to the bazaar and you bought all the illegal videos, you see the hand of the guys trying to videotape, Star Wars or whatever. And I was like, that was actually a really cool time. Like we pulled like a 24-hour, talk watch, but it was okay because we just sat there and watched the movie, then did all that, and it was fun.
Yeah, I consider those authentic experience videos is what I consider those, right? Because like that's an authentic experience, actually watching a movie in a movie theater, right? It's because you're going to kind of be moving around, so it's just an authentic experience.
But no one other than Bendy can understand. It's like, you see the Chinese subtitles underneath and you hear the people talking in the background, and it's just good times, that the average person wouldn't understand. But again, that goes back to that purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Those were great. It sucked, but it was, you you're there, and when you're around good people, and of course, even when you're around bad, I'm just saying, those are few people, like when you're 19 series, so we're going to sidebar for a little bit, but that's okay because my show and I can do that. 19 series and combat arms in general, you always have that one or two guys that you're like, I'm going to read about you as a serial killer someday down the road. Those guys exist, and
most of the time you do.
we had this one guy, and I won't mention his name because maybe he is a serial killer right now, but we had this one guy in our unit, and he would always be drawing these weird battle axes, like these crazy, and then he would, of course, every Cav Scout, we all have knives and he'd be making these wood, like, he never really spoke to people, but he had his little journal, and I remember pulling shift with him one night, and I'm just like...
Yeah, we got some weird dudes, man. We had this one guy who used to sleep like Dracula. Like, before we went to sleep, he would, like, put his legs together, he would sit, like, straight up, he would cross his arms over his chest, and then he would just, like, throw himself down, and then just go to sleep.
Yep.
And we were just like, what is going on? Like, so, I mean, like, there's some weird dudes there in the
Yeah.
army or just in the military in general.
Yeah,
but, like,
and-
it's still kind of funny because, like, I don't know. It's like a little dose of society, right? I mean, like, there's people in society that are just kind of.
Yeah.
Weird.
The military is a
Different.
great exposure for
It is.
everyone in society. You
It is.
meet
It's cool.
every kind. And like I said, but that's kind of like I said, once again, finding that purpose. And I'll
Yeah.
use a word that a good buddy of mine, Clint Bruce, uses quite a bit. I can't say whether he was the one that created this quote. He might have stolen it, maybe not. But whatever it is, I'm giving him the credit for telling me this quote. He says, you got to learn to become a recalibrated carnivore.
Yeah, I
And
think that's good.
I love that quote because it's so true. Once you leave the military, finding that purpose, finding that reason, finding your why is so critical. And back to the whole point of that whole disability. And while, yes, it may help you financially to a certain degree, you got to help yourself. You got to go
Yeah.
find a reason why you need to get up every day and do something. And I don't care whether it's for minimum wage or for hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, or even if it's for volunteering at an organization like an organization you and I are both members
Yeah.
of. There's a reason for you to get up every morning.
I like, yeah, and you're totally right. And I talk about it a lot with my friends and kind of my circles, and a lot with outreach,
Right.
other outreach people, is that people think that being a disabled veteran is like a full-time job, and it's not. That is
No.
not your job. Your job is not to be a disabled veteran. It's something that you can either let define you, or it's something that is a description, right? I mean, it's something that, I guess not a description, but it's something that is a part of you, but should not define you.
Exactly, and that is something that I think a lot of folks have trouble understanding. And I've talked about this on this show many times. Everyone knows, there's probably no one that loves veterans more than myself. Many love is equal. I just have, obviously, for obvious reasons, the highest level of respect. But some folks have an incredibly difficult time letting go of that uniform. I know for me, after 24 years, it took a while to realize I'm never putting that on again, other than for parades or special events.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never wearing that uniform.
Well, you work so hard to be a certain type of person, right? I mean, like, you were a retired major, right?
correct.
So you worked so hard to get that major rank. You were in charge of a lot of people as a major, and when you get out, you're in charge of no one.
Yep.
Right?
Is a,
I mean, like,
you're in
back
charge
to-
of yourself.
You're
You
back
realize,
to being a private, basically, right?
Yes.
In society, and so, like, that sucks, right? I mean, like, that sucks. No one's gonna salute you. No one's gonna tell you good morning. No one's gonna just give you respect just because of the rank on your chest. Like, no one's gonna do that anymore, and you have to be okay with that. I mean, there's like people that I'm friends with that were like severe war heroes, right? Like, did some like really crazy stuff, but like when they go to Kroger, right, or they go to Walmart, no one knows that.
Exactly.
And they get treated just like everybody else. They're gonna get bumped out of line. They're gonna get cut off in traffic. But like, you have to be okay with that, because like,
That's the real world.
That's the real world, right? The real world is like, you were this like hero in the military, in your military record displays that. But not everyone's going to see your military record, and you don't have to shove it down their face. It's all about reintegrating into the society that
100%.
we've worked so hard to achieve and to keep the way that it is, And I tell people that all the time. It's not just about defending the United States and defending its freedoms and stuff like that, but it's also, freedom comes with opinions and choices and things like that, right? And so, like, even people that you don't agree with, we fought to defend
100%.
those
And
people
I've
to be able
said
to do
this
that.
on this show
Yeah.
many, many times, and I'll throw it out there. The person who hit that comment mostly now, I'm very conservative in my lifestyle choices. I never push that lifestyle to anyone,
Yeah.
to include my own children. I'm like, this is a choice I make for myself. This is what makes sense for me.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. Do what you want, as long as it's healthy, legal, and everyone's okay. What you choose
Sure.
to do is your choice. I remember meeting, at the time he was not in the U.S. Senate. We had, oh my God, I can't believe we just forgot his name. Minnesota senator. Help me out here. He got in trouble, the whole grabbing,
I don't know.
Democratic. He was oh my God, he was on Saturday Night Live.
That could be a lot of them, man. I don't know.
Why can I remember his name? Al Franken. All right. Al Franken, when I was overseas, he came over. This would have been 2004. In fact, it was when that video, that picture that got him in trouble, it was that night that he was with us. He was part of the Sergeant Major of the Army USO tour for the troops. And, of course, we all knew at that time, before the show started, how liberal-minded thinking Al Franken is. All right? He made no bones about it. But you want to know what? When he came on stage and said, hey, how many of y'all just came here today just to boo and harass me and all that? And he's like, listen, I'm here because you guys are here. You guys not only fight for the right of the people who think like you, but you also fight to give me a platform to speak and say the stuff that I believe in. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Well, I don't agree with a lot of what he says. By God, he earned my respect for what he did and how he said. It's like, you know what? You put things in very good perspective. It's not all about my way of thinking. It's the ability, and that's what makes America great, is our ability to get along, work, and integrate with others who may have 180-degree different view than what we do. And that's okay. I will be, and I've said it many times, people on the other side of the aisle, while I disagree with probably majority of stuff, they're good and honest people on that side. And like you and I were talking before the show, there's plenty of people on the same side that I am on that we know the stories about their true past.
You're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you.
Exactly. There are people on my side of the aisle that I'm like, I wouldn't be caught dead in the same room with you because I know what you really do. But anyways, again, we sidebarred and diverse.
But to get back to it, right, is that, so when you're getting out, I know we sidebarred a lot, but when you're getting out, that's what you want to do. You want to do records.
Get used to it. It happens a lot in the show.
That's fine. You want to do records. Okay, you want to get your records. You want to go to sit call. You want to get because the reason you're going to sit call is not just so you can complain about something. Okay,
it's not.
No, it's not. The reason
I
you're
had
going
a lot
to
of
sit call,
I used to do that,
and it's not just for documentation either. Okay, something that people forget or don't really know about the process is that you need to be recently diagnosed with an issue to be able to claim that issue.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So let's say I want to claim migraines. I want to claim my knee and my back. Okay.
All right.
So I need to be seen and diagnosed with migraines, with a knee problem, with a back problem within a year of when I go to claim the knee problem, migraines, and back problem.
Okay. Got a question for you on that. All right. And this is actually good knowledge for me. Good knowledge for. All right. Let's say I did 10 years. Mm-hmm. Active duty. Let's just go on the active duty side, which makes it's the easiest to
It follow. Is the easiest. It gets kind of complicated when you get in a National Guard and stuff.
All right. Early on in my career, I broke my leg or I tore an ACL in my knee. Did something medically documented. All that stuff. Well, 5 years or whatever years later, I go right now. My knee may feel okay right now, but we know. I mean, I can say, hey, I'm getting up there in age. I won't say exactly how old I am, but it's older than you. I know that much. My knee starts to hurt me now. And now it's been a number of years since I've had that, but it's documented that, hey, during a training exercise, I ruptured my knee or whatever.
Yeah. So you just get it redocumented. That's all. So you already have the documentation of the injury. A lot of people don't realize that any injury that occurs during, especially active duty, right? Any injury that occurs, you're active duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
Okay. So let's say that one night you were out late and you were trying to get milk or whatever. It's usually probably beer. Okay. But let's just say it's milk. All right. So let's say you're out one day and you're driving to the PX or you're on post.
You had too much milk.
Yeah. And you have too much milk. Okay. But seriously though, like let's say you get in a car accident.
Right.
Okay. Let's say you get in a car accident and you get a concussion, or you break your leg, or you break your arm in the car accident. That counts as an injury during service, right? Because you were still on service time. You're on service time 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so if you got that documented, let's say then 10 years later, okay, you start having aggravated results from that car accident or from that knee injury or from the arm injury or the leg that you broke or whatever it was, you need to go and see a doctor and say, listen, I had a prior injury before, okay, and I think that it might be just causing some issues, because it may, all right?
Right,
because
it's plausible.
When you break a bone or you fracture a bone, it doesn't I mean, it heals, but there's always going to be a weakness in that spot.
A residual
right?
injury.
Exactly.
You know?
And so maybe that's what's causing you issues now, or maybe you had some nerve damage that you didn't realize until you got a little older, and
Sure.
I got a little less in shape, right? I mean, so that's usually what it is.
Or if you're in a 19 or combat arms series,
Yeah.
suck it up and drive. How many times do we do that? And we're told, oh, just suck it up.
And then we re-aggravate the issue, or we make it worse, or it doesn't heal right, or whatever it is. And so, yeah, I mean, all you do is you go back to the doctor and you say, hey, listen, this is really aggravating me, okay? And then you get that documented, and then they go, listen, this guy has an arm problem, a knee problem, whatever problem.
Right.
And then you submit that documentation with your old documentation of you being in a car accident.
So even though
they
they're
can link it doesn't matter, because
couple years-
they can usually link files together, okay?
Right.
But you have to provide that sort of evidence. And I'll tell you this while we're on this topic, because I'm not necessarily the benefits guy, right?
Right.
But
it's giving us an
it
understanding.
is, yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's just the things that I've kind of picked up along the way. But I will tell you that, especially here in Texas, really any state that you live in, it really doesn't matter, okay? Is that most states have a policy or a law in place to provide someone for you to talk to go through your benefits information with. So in Texas, we have veteran service officers or county service officers. So
Right.
every county that has more than I think it's 120,000, or maybe it's less than that, maybe it's a little bit more
Sure.
than that. It's somewhere around there, right? But there's a law that says if that county has X amount of people, then they are required by law to have a county service officer, someone who knows the VA benefits process, who will help the people that live in that county do their benefits paperwork. And so a lot of people are not aware of that. And
Sure.
so I always tell people, why would you go to criminal court, okay, without an attorney? It doesn't make any sense, right? So if you're going to go do your claim, you can be the smartest dude on the planet, but I guarantee you've never been in criminal court, okay? And it's just kind of like going to criminal court, because you really have to prove yourself right. You have to prove these things. So these service officers is who you should be talking to, so they can put together the claim, and they can write it in such a way that it will be looked at in a favorable manner.
And I love how you just said that keyword looked at. And just like in legalese, in veteran world, there are keywords that have to be, just like in the military, everything's documented. Certain keywords have to be associated, and we know that. If you've served in the military, no matter what you do, keywords indicate certain things, for claims, right, wrong, and different. That's just the way the world we operate, live in. So like we said earlier, straight active duty, an injury 5 years ago, you're getting out, that knee is still aggravating you, that can claim. What do you do when you are, and we're going to paint a slightly different scenario. Let's use the National Guard or Reserve,
Okay.
for example. You're a National Guards member or U.S. Army Reserve. You get mobilized, you serve, you do...
What kind of mobilization?
What's that?
I said, what kind of mobilization? Because it matters.
We're gonna
Title
go.
10?
We're gonna go with a Title 10
Okay.
mobilization. You get called up to deploy overseas in support of OIF, OEF. We'll
Okay.
just use that.
That's
Or
the
those
good
that-
one.
Are those even still there, or we changed those names already? I can't keep up with
It's like Operation New Dawn, I think now, or maybe it's something even different. I don't know.
whatever it is. I'm just gonna go with what I know.
I don't have to carry a gun anymore, so
Yeah, OIF, OEF. We're just gonna use that just for argument.
Okay.
While I was over there, whatever happened, you got hurt. I'm not even gonna go Purple Heart. I'm just gonna say you got hurt.
Okay, so National Guard and reservists, okay, they work a little different. So they have, since they're usually attached to like a regular Army unit
Right.
or a regular whatever branch that they're with unit, they need to get what's called a line of duty. Okay,
Right.
so a line of duty is just a piece of paper where it's like a tracker, okay, of every time that they get injured or they go to sick call, there's this line of duty that's filled out, okay, and they need to get one of those, and they need to get it from the unit that is giving them medical treatment, because it's usually not their unit, right? Because they're just attached to someone else.
National Guard would usually be their unit because usually they deploy.
So they're usually attached to someone else. So
big echelon,
big
yes.
a big echelon.
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
And so when
gotcha.
they go to
All
when
right.
they go to that medical center, where they go to that surgery center, or their whatever their big medical core is,
Okay, all right.
is operating out.
And that's the point to because I know there's going to be some National Guard guys like, wait a second, my entire battalion support. We're talking
Yes.
you're higher because usually you'll be attached to like 3 Corps.
Yeah, or 4th ID,
or something like
10th
that.
Mountain or someone, right? You're going to be attached to kind
Got
of
it. All right. Just want to clear.
whoever owns the battle space. Let's just put it that way, okay?
I just want to put the clarification because I know
Yeah.
I'm going to get. It's like, wait a second, my entire battalion or brigade deployed. Yes, but we're referring to
Yes, yeah,
upper echelon.
Yeah, because like even like the big upper echelons, like even like 10th Mountain, we were, when we first got in for our second deployment in 2011 or from 11 to 12, we were underneath 101st for a while, right? So like if we went to sit call, we went to our people, but our people also reported to 101st, right?
Gotcha.
So like all of our paperwork kind of got filed with them for a little while, and then they eventually just got filed with us when we took over the battle space. So that's kind of how it goes. But line LOD or a line of
Right.
duty, okay, they need to get that paperwork. Now a lot of people will complain. They'll say, well, no one ever wants to give me my line of duty. You need to get it, like at all costs.
That's the key thing right there. Like you have to fight for
Yes.
your information, and that is key. And that's where you hear it and I hear it all the time. It's like, well, my paperwork get lost, so I'm going to stomp my feet till I turn blue till it gets fixed. Well, get that stuff yourself. Take care of that stuff. I know when I got out, and I'm sure you probably have it too. Even to this day, if God forbid anything happened to me, my wife knows exactly. I've got an entire little tough box little thing with every deployment order I've had, every promotion order, every medical. I mean, it's just there. My wife can go straight to whoever. Boom, here you go. What do you need?
Yeah. I hate to say it, but there's a pecking order when it comes to like National Guard, reservists, and active duty. Active duty is always at the top of that pecking order, okay? Because they do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then it's really reservists is next because reservists actually work for DOD.
Right.
Okay? National Guard don't. National
They
Guard
work for the governor.
They work for the governor, and they're on loan to the DOD, okay? And so that is why the pecking order is so low for National Guard, and that's why they have to do everything to take care of themselves, okay?
Absolutely.
And so doing these LODs, keeping track of their information, it's really going to help them in the long run because really what your goal comes back to being 0% service connected so that you can get healthcare at the VA. I don't care if you make $600,000, $1 million a year, okay? You should not be beyond going and getting care at the VA. Just because you heard that it was bad, you have no idea until you use it yourself, right? And you're doing a disservice to every other veteran that actually goes to the VA that has no other choice. Because, the VA doesn't necessarily just get paid like every other business does, okay? We don't make a whole bunch of money off of visits or anything like that, okay?
It's not like private practice.
Yeah, it's more like, I tell people it's more like a nonprofit, okay? Because like nonprofits get paid with butts and seats. So the more people that interact with the nonprofit or go on trips with the nonprofit or whatever they're doing, okay, that's kind of how they get paid because they get paid in this funding, okay? So do we. We do too, okay? So like if you're not going to see your doctor at least once a year, twice a year, whatever, right? It's once or twice a year. It's not that big of a deal. But that once or twice a year could have put $7,000 in our pocket, okay? But that's $7,000 that could go to like a homeless veteran or a homeless program or a cardiac wing or whatever it may be, right? But it's something that helps, right?
And
so it's not just like, well, I don't really need it or whatever, but it's like you're doing a disservice to everyone else
100%.
by not using it at least once a year. Like that's all we're asking, right? Once a year, get enrolled. Go
And
see
it's
it once
good
a
to
year.
have those documentations because God forbid you. Let's just say, all right, and we'll use a service-connected thing. Let's say you have a back issue, right? It's something common. I mean, everyone's got back, knees, no matter what branch of service that's going to be out there. Well, you may be fine today. You may be fine for the next 10, 15 years, but constantly getting checked up. At some point, Father Time is going to catch up with you, and you may need certain criteria. And if it's service connected and it's documented, it makes that process easier for you to get the help that you may or may not need. And I will say right now, in fact, you and I were talking because we know some of my physicians that I see, we talk about, I will tell you, and I'll be straight up on this. I don't know whether I just got blessed or lucky, but my primary care doctor that I have through the VA, and we talked, I don't want to mention, their name because I don't have their permission to use them, but we know who we're talking about. I've got unbelievable. I've never had less than first class quality care from them. Everything I've needed, everything I've wanted, done. It's been a matter of, hey, the most I've ever had to do. Now I happen to go. We have that community thing, which is that is relatively new, or that's something that's been around for a while? Because I love that community care outpatient program. Wonderful program. I mean, I'm very blessed to have that here in Texas.
It used to be called Choice. Now it's under the Mission Act.
Right.
So honestly, if you're a veteran, you need to go and research the Mission Act. Like you just need to, because it
Can you talk a little bit
us.
about that?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. So Mission Act was put down to try to, I guess, redesign the choice program or whatever it was. Most people, when they got this choice card, they were like, oh, I can go anywhere I want. That's not how the choice program has ever worked. And honestly, it's funny. I think
I said we're here to debunk rumors and fact
again,
fiction.
right? So yeah, rumors, myths, and legends. Okay, but I think that it's funny because people were like, "Oh, thank goodness the VA is finally gonna pay for this kind of service and blah 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 blah." When the choice program came out. But to be honest with you, we've always had a community care continuum program, right? So a community care program where we had the option to be able to send you out if we deemed it as like a medical necessity, or let's say like something that we didn't do at the hospital. So for instance, like, like our VA doesn't have obstetrics. So like we can't deliver babies, right? Because we don't have that capability.
Sure.
So we would have had to, get that capability from somewhere else in another hospital. And so we would kind of, give that work to someone else in the community care program. We've always had that. Okay. We've always had that, but it wasn't as well known or as well used, because as OEF and OIF became as prominent, we started having an increased use, right? And as the Vietnam veterans got older and older, we started having increased numbers, right?
And sure, it's a snowball effect.
Yes, and so like as it started getting more and more and more and more, then we were like, okay, we're starting to kind of be inundated, and now we're kind of growing faster than what the government and bureaucrats and kind of like our means are allowing us to kind of grow, right?
Right.
And so that's why we usually tell people, it's no real secret, okay? But most government agencies are about 3-4 years budget behind what they actually should be, okay? So like we'll report the numbers, and then they'll review it, and they'll be like, well, they might not increase that much next year, and then they'll wait another year. But then by then we could have increased by, another 400,000 veterans. Like, you don't know, right? You don't know the increase.
To your very point, a big thing, and I'm just going to speak about the Texas system right now a little bit. Not only do we have already Texas naturally, I don't know if natural is the right word, but we have been a hub for veterans for decades.
Sure.
And there's a large increase coming in from the West Coast of veterans, whether it's because of business, work, choice of life, whatever it may be. That influence and that impact is definitely affecting the VA's capability to see veterans in a timely and efficient manner, just because the influx is huge. I mean, I see it every day.
Yeah, honestly, we do a really good job at seeing patients. I know like people complain about it, but like, what I usually ask people is like when someone will be like, well, the VA sucks. Okay. And I'll be like, okay, I'll take it. Right. Because sometimes, you get lackluster service, but you could go anywhere and get lackluster service.
True.
Like, let's say Chick-fil-A, for instance. Everyone always talks
Oh,
about
no,
Chick-fil-A
man.
being
You gotta
great service.
tread real carefully.
But
Chick-fil-A is...
but everyone always talks about Chick-fil-A being great service. But, like, how do you know, like, it's always going to be like that? Like, you might have caught one person on a bad day, right? Or just the wrong shift or whatever it may be, okay? So, like, it's not like it's non-existent everywhere, okay? And so so you just don't know. Maybe it was that one time. But I'll say, when's the last time you were at the VA? Well, 6 years ago. And I'm like, dude...
It has changed. I can tell you.
It changes dramatically year to year how much we
my
increase
God.
and change and get better and better and better, and our wait times go down and down and down. And I mean, like, we do so much good work, and like people will complain about, well, my doctor sucks. I'll be like, really, really, really? So which doctor would you prefer to go to? So like here in Dallas, they're like, oh, I'd rather be at UT Southwestern. Do you know, like, most of our doctors actually work at UT Southwestern or trained the doctors that are at UT Southwestern, correct? And they're like, well, that's not true. Well, it's very true. So, like, the doctors that you enjoy going to are the same doctors that, like, work
I can
for
support
us.
that because I've seen, I mean, they all got all their badges and all that stuff on there. And, that is,
because doctors work for multiple different people usually, right?
And they have, what are the credentials or whatever, multiple different facilities. And that's not uncommon to see at any hospital. I mean, you go take your pick, go to UT Southwestern and look at how many badges they have.
Yeah.
They'll say a whole list, they start flipping cards of which, hospital they got.
But I just think it's funny, right? Because like we do our very best to take care of veterans and their needs, right? And the thing is about the VA is just because you had a bad service one time or maybe a couple of times or whatever, I can guarantee you, I will bet money, okay, on this, is that you will not get people to take care of you as a veteran who understand you more than when you go to the VA. Because when the VA looks at something that is wrong with you, okay, or something that you feel like is wrong with you, they're looking at it from angles that your civilian doctors are just absolutely confused about.
Actually, got a question for you. And again, this may be fact, fiction, myth, whatever. When veterans are getting out, and I'll put this more on the Reserve National Guard side.
Okay.
All right. I got diagnosed, when I say I'm just talking about just in general, if I'm a veteran and I get diagnosed with whatever, take your pick of any ailment. I'm a reservist. Maybe I hurt myself during annual training, whatever. It was towards the end. I really didn't get seen. I got home. My back is still really jacked up from went to go see my doctor. Orthopedic did it, and you got a blown disc or something. Something that's not uncommon. Does the VA accept a civilian doctor's diagnosis slash?
So that's a good question.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm going to say sometimes. Okay.
Right.
So it depends. If you're talking about like getting service connected or something, right? Sometimes it really is dependent, but you're always going to do a compensation and pension exam of a third-party source just so we can kind of verify, right? It's not that we don't believe the doctor, right? But we always need to check then verify, right?
Sure.
Like that's how we were taught in the military. It's how we operate, it's how the VA likes to operate too, because I think it's important to do that. Because, just because we're talking about veterans doesn't mean, come on, we all know as veterans, like sometimes we're not the greatest, okay? And think about all the times that you've had to do like porta potty guard, okay? Because like someone decided to be Van Gogh inside the porta potty, even though they knew,
never happened. I never saw any artwork inside.
You know what I'm saying? Like even though they know that that's like the stupidest idea ever, okay? Because like now that one person has screwed it up for everybody else,
Sure.
and so that happens anywhere you go, and it's also happened with VA and VA policies and things like that. And so like we have to check, then verify. And so that's what compensation and pensions exams are for. Now, if you're talking about like, hey, let's say I see two different doctors, okay, like for me, I have TRICARE, okay?
Right.
So sometimes let's say I go and use TRICARE for something because I just need to go down the street to like the Minute Clinic or whatever, right?
Sure.
So I go down the street, I go see the Minute Clinic, which I can do now with Choice Program, but let's say I use TRICARE, let's just say. And then they put me on some sort of medication, okay? I can take those records back to my doctor, and then my doctor can either agree or disagree or whatever, and they'll usually explain it to me why, hey, I don't necessarily think that you should be on this medication for forever or whatever. But yeah, you should, if you're seeing an outside doctor, bring all of your records to the VA.
Certain things like breaks, you can't, you bring back an X-ray that shows that your leg is broken, probably not going to get a whole lot of argument.
No, if you're already in the system and you're using VA and you already have a primary care doctor, it's always good to have a primary care doctor, whether you want to use the VA or not. It's your choice what healthcare you use.
Sure.
Okay, we would greatly appreciate if you would use us because we want to have you, we want to take care of you, we want to do the best that we can for you. But if you choose not to, that's fine, but come and see us, stay current with us, right? So if you're going to see another doctor the rest of the year and then you come for your annual appointment or your biannual appointment, bring all of your records with you, all your records from your other doctor. Let's bring it here, let's put it in another file, right, under your medical file, and then we might be able to take over some of that care. So for instance, let's say you get diagnosed as a diabetic.
Okay.
That's a pretty common one, okay?
As
you get older,
yeah,
you get diagnosed as a diabetic, and you get diagnosed on the outside, and you have a primary care. Let's say you come for your annual visit, and you say, hey, listen, they diagnosed me as a diabetic. Here's my reports. Here's my blood tests. The primary care doctor will probably be like, let's run blood screen, okay? Because we're going to do that anyway when you come in. So let's say he's like, you're right. Okay, your blood screen, your levels say that you are in fact diabetic. Let's put you on the same medication.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Or let's put you on something different that's a little bit more generic, but then you may be able to get that medicine for free.
I was just about to go there. That is a huge thing. I will say that's probably one of my favorite things about the VA. Like any medications that I have, I love it. and I don't know if I'm assuming this is everyone, but I don't even need to call anymore. Every, like, probably a week or two, actually, it's about between a week to 10 days before I run out of my supply, I go to my mailbox, and all my medication is already
Sent to
there.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have to. I used to have to go into the My Healthy Vets and click on which one. Over the last year, I haven't even had to do that.
So I like that you said that. Okay, with My Health or My Healthy Vet. If you are not enrolled as a veteran in My Healthy Vet and you're using VA services, you 100% need to be enrolled in My Healthy Vet. It is literally like the track that we're kind of trying to push to, because we can give you better and faster services with My Healthy Vet, and gives you the ability to be able to message your doctors, message your nurses, and be able to do things that you normally would have had to do an appointment for, right? Yeah.
Too easy.
It's super
now,
easy.
I do got a question, and maybe it's more of a clarification on
can
this.
clarify.
And this never, I mean, I did it right away. When you first sign up for Massive Vets, you've got the basic package, and you can click to go upgrade for free to the primary. Why isn't everybody just primary?
You mean the premium,
Or
right?
premium, yeah.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you just offer that?
It's another check and verify process that we have, okay? Like, we're all about HIPAA and safety.
Right.
All right? Like, we do not want someone to try to do stolen valor. We don't want someone to try to be you or act like they are you, or get services that they do not deserve.
Sure.
Okay? And so we need to do a check and verify process all the time. And I think it's good that we do that, honestly.
Right. Sure,
okay?
sure.
And so that's another check and verify process. It's super easy. There is a My Healthy Vet person usually on every major campus. Okay, so like in Dallas, we have, I think, like 2 of them that operate out of the Dallas VA up on, I think, like the 2nd floor, maybe the 3rd floor.
Well, it's all the construction, everything going on right now. Who knows where they are?
But they're there, okay, and they have a window, and all you need to do is you go there, you show them your identification. It's usually like 2 forms of ID. Yep. You say, hey, here's 2 forms of ID. I'm proving that it's me. I need that premium account. But most of the time, you don't even have to do that if you answer the questions that they give you to get your premium access. But they're not going to give you access to talking to your doctors, refilling medications, changing your address, without you proving that you are the person who you say that you are. So you can get a basic access, but you're not going to be able to access much in basic, right? Yeah. And then your premium access is once you've proven who you are, you can start doing a lot
that
more.
makes sense, and how and why they do that, and support. Like I said, this is one of the things.
It's not for us to be, like a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I just was like, man, because I mean, like I said, I use it. I love it. I mean, I'm at a point right now, I don't know. I guess if you refilled so many times, they automatically know that. I mean, obviously they're tracking because they know how many pills they sent you. Yeah. Usually it's about a week to 10 days before I run out, and I mean, I haven't done a refill click in probably about a year, and I always get it. Well, Mike, can't even begin to thank you enough. I mean, we probably just scratched the surface.
Very top of it, yep.
Veteran stuff. Loved having you on the show. Love the information. Love to have you back on again so we can maybe dive a little deeper into some of the VA benefits, some of the VA opportunities that veterans should know about. Their care. I mean, I didn't even get into some of the questions that I had, but if people want to know quick answers, a quick site to just get general basic knowledge, is there a site that we can give our listeners to say, hey, if you just want to frequently asked questions or whatever, maybe where would you direct
So
them
I'll
to?
tell you that the VA developed this really awesome thing recently. It's called this VA Welcome Kit. Okay,
Right.
so it's kind of like a choose your own story path, right? Book. And so if you go on a va.gov and you just go to usually where you would want to enroll in healthcare, there should be a hyperlink that you'll see. It says VA Welcome Kit underneath one of those windows. Okay, so just kind of search for it, or you can even Google probably VA Welcome Kit. Okay, but there is a downloadable PDF welcome kit that you can download, and it has all of your most of your frequently asked questions, most of if I want to do benefits, what do I do? What's the first steps that I take? How do I get my documentation? What documentation do I need? What about enrollment? What are the enrollment criteria for enrolling in healthcare?
Right.
And so that's what I would suggest. I would say, hey, let's go to the va.gov and just kind of poke around.
Sounds
poke
good.
around.
Well, Mike, thank you so much. We will definitely have to have you on here so we can go a little deeper. And with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in again today. Great show, great guest, great information. Had a lot of fun out there. And tune in later this afternoon where we're going to be broadcasting live from the Bridalwood Golf Course over in Flower Mound, Texas, where Mike and I are both going to be there, chasing a little white ball around a field. And like fishing, we'll be lying about our scores and how we really, did out there in the golf course. But that's part of playing golf with veterans.
Yep.
So, but we're going to be out there with North Texas Warrior Golf and all the great things they do out there. So tune in late this afternoon for Chuck and I. As always, hoorah and oorah. See y'all next week.